Good morning, everybody. Welcome to worship. We're glad that you're here. Those in the online pews and those here in Unity Hall, welcome. Know that your presence here makes the community what it is, so thank you for being here. Welcome to All Souls, where all souls welcome. I invite you to rise in body and our spirit, and we will join in our opening hymn. And it's a little bit of a less familiar hymn. It's called Mother Earth, Beloved Garden, and it fits so beautifully, and it's a beautiful tune, and Bill is going to play it through for us all once first. So please stand in body and our spirit. Each Sunday here at All Souls, it's our custom to greet one another warmly. First of all, I'd like to ask anyone in the online pews, if you're visiting with us for the first time, please let us know in the chat. And here in Unity Hall, if you're comfortable doing so, please raise your hand or let us know if this is your first time visiting so that we can give you a personal greeting. Here in Unity Hall, let's turn and wave to the folks in the online pews. We are glad that you're with us today. And now we make a joyful noise as we pass the peace amongst us to one another. Peace be with you.
Okay. We acknowledge the Nahantic, Mohegan, Mashantucket, Pequot, and Eastern Pequot people as the traditional caretakers of the land on which we worship. We honor and pay respect to these tribes, their ancestors, and their lineage, who today uphold traditional practices, art, and education. Each week, we light the chalice, symbol of Unitarian Universalism. As Erica lights the chalice, please join in saying the words. As varied as the flowers, vegetables, and fruits of the season, here we are, individuals gathered in community. Rainful sun, sun and rain. Find our way in nature's chain. Take our bodies and our brains. Find our way in nature's chain. Our bodies and our brains. This is different than what's here. Okay. Each week, we also light a peace candle for a location that is in need of awareness and care. This morning, after rocket strikes yesterday and today, we're lighting the candle for the Golan Heights and for Lebanon. May there be a de-escalation from the threat of another war. May there be restraint of violence and tension. We lift up all who have died, all who love them, and all who are living under these conditions. May there be peace.
Our first reading this morning is a haiku from All Souls' very own Betsy Fox. What is more holy than kneeling in the garden, planting in good faith? And our second reading is from Summer, in a book by a Connecticut author, Tova Martin, and the book is The Garden in Every Sense and Season, and this is an excerpt from Summer. Summer is a frenzy. Of all the seasons, this is the time when the pulsating, throbbing momentum is so apt to sweep us away in its tide. There is an urgency to summer while all the bugs are swarming, blooms are unfurling, aromas are wafting, tools are waiting, and you are smack dab in the middle of it. When stimuli strike from all sides, do you take time to dissect, heed, and relish them? Or do you just drown in response, response, response? If so, what a waste. Summer has so much to offer. Summer is the dribble of the sweat running into your mouth, seasoned with a dash of sunscreen and a pinch of bug repellent. Summer is the kiss of the sun on your cheek when it rises at dawn, heightened to its blazing beat at high noon. Summer is suffused color, dueling dragonflies, fattened tomatoes, juicy berries, and rumbling moors. More than any other time, summer is the season when the full cast is on stage. Granted, that sensory suffusion can read like a crowd scene. You've got to take a moment, more than a moment, to sink into summer and look around. Sift through the stimuli. Meet and greet each delegate at the convention. You have to be present. You have to reap what you've sown. Summer is the zenith of the fervor we call gardening. All the dialogues of summer are clamoring to engage you, and you need to savor those messages. It's a tall order. Running around and standing still simultaneously is a challenge of massive proportions, but you can do it.
This is a song that I think was an original Lee Hayes poem of the Weavers. And I believe Pete Seeger and Arlo Guthrie put it to music, so to speak. If I should die before I wake, all my bone and sinew take, put me in the compost pile to decompose me for a while. Worms, water, sun will have their way, returning me to common clay. And all that I am will feed the trees and little fishies in the seas. When radishes and corn you munch, you may be having me for lunch. And then excrete me with a grin, chortling, there goes Nick again.
When we were asked to give a talk about gardening, I thought of it as an opportunity to give a humanist perspective to our UU principles. So here goes. What is a garden? It's a method of allowing us to recycle material from waste to food. When we sing Blue Boat Home, I imagine the image of the Earth as seen from the Apollo mission. The thought of the astronauts recycling wastewater and air to be used again during the flight reminds me that the big blue spherical boat floating in space is doing the same thing, only on a slower scale. We are, in fact, recycled material. Take a deep breath and hold it. Realize that you have now breathed in recycled air from Tyrannosaurus Rex and all his buddies, as well as probably atoms recycled from George Washington or your grandmother. You can breathe again now. Remembering that all that air is recycled, as are the solid and liquid parts of our bodies. In John Denver's song, Homegrown Tomatoes, he says, "Don't bury me in a cold, dark cemetery. Let me be part of the natural cycle of nature and push up tomatoes." There is, by the way, that possibility if you live near Seattle, Washington, and Connecticut does allow a liquid composting process. When we returned from our 2-week camping trip with our trailer, we also saw the Darwinian concept of survival of the fittest in the garden, where the weeds now outnumbered the plants that we'd put in before leaving. Alexander Humboldt, who first proposed the similar concept, noted in his travels through South America that all animals lived in competition and fear. It is interesting that in the Bible, writers are aware that life as it exists could not actually be the product of a benevolent God or force, and thus created ideal worlds where the lion would lie down with the lamb. After all, the God that humans created would have to be more intelligent in designing the world than the chance evolution that actually exists. Accepting the principle of evolution means accepting the fact that the universe is the product of chance, where survival of the fittest is the ruling factor. Now, as computer games have illustrated, that survival eventually goes to those who tell the truth and cooperate, but not before many losses in the process. In other words, there's not an overriding force of good or greater power that can help in this process, but it is up to us as individuals to work on becoming that greater good on our own. We will eventually be recycled ourselves, but can only make the best of our time here by living our life to the fullest. Katrina said a couple of weeks back that the most of this wild and precious life, make the most of it. It is, after all, the one and only chance to do that. By the way, Connecticut Insider's online magazine has a very good overview on that whole natural composting as they're done in Seattle, if you were interested, which I hope will be legal in Connecticut by the time I'm ready to be recycled and put back into the garden, where I can be pushing up tomatoes. Or as Arlo Guthrie just said with Nick, who also wanted to be buried in his garden, when radishes and corn you munch, you may be having me for lunch. And I forgot my prop. My tomato that I left at home. So, now, you got to imagine that tomato. Next time you enjoy a juicy tomato, think that all of that is in there, and who and what is being recycled as a part of your tomato. And meditate. Take a moment and meditate on who you are and how you will live your wild and precious life. Thank you.
Give you a second to digest that. I mean, that was the wrong verb. Well, on a lighter note, my answer to the question, what is a garden, has always been more sensual. During my formative years, my soul journey with flowers was simply an appreciation of the many colors, shapes, and fragrances by sniffing, pressing, and drawing what I observed. My maternal Oma's garden in southeastern Germany also included gooseberries and currants, a child's paradise aided by the ever-present bees. I gradually learned to appreciate their role in pollination and providing honey to replace rare and expensive sugar in the World War II years. Alas, when I was 5, my parents emigrated to the United States. Living in Rensselaer, New York, we lived with my paternal aunt, who also had a garden. 6 months later, we moved to an apartment in Albany, New York. For the next 3 years, I enjoyed walks through Washington Park, which was opposite our apartment, resting near the Moses statue, and enjoying the annual May Tulip Festival begun by Dutch settlers. Amidst the beautiful array of colors, I sniffed each tulip and variety to find the most fragrant. On hot days, Mom and I would stand on the bridge by the lake house, enjoying the antics of ducklings darting between the pond lilies. This pleasant life ended halfway through 3rd grade when my school, PS 24, or Public School 24, burned down. A desiccated Christmas tree in our class coat room apparently burned spontaneously as I first alerted the class and ran toward the window. Everyone was safely evacuated, but the principal broke a leg. This event precipitated a slew of school safety laws, during which a new single-story PS 24 was built in Lincoln Park. But meanwhile, our classes were convened in Hackett High School. Subsequently, my parents determined that we move to a safer place in the country. They started clearing the land, digging the cellar by hand, and gradually working between jobs, finishing the brick structure. No more leisure time, no formal flower garden, but plenty of wildflowers, like red columbine and lady slippers. I was sad for that year until visiting elderly neighbors down the road who had a large, large garden, along with chickens and goats. I didn't especially like the manure odor, but saw how it helped the garden grow beautiful plants. I often was entreated to pick a bouquet for my mother, who was sewing 300 slipcovers for the DeWitt Clinton Hotel dining room. Adding to her frustration was the fact that growing plants in heavy clay-like soil was difficult and time-consuming. Eventually, with more time and resources, flower gardens started to thrive. Fast forward to our marriage in 1970, we opted to teach in New South Wales, Australia. There we encountered many unique plants: bottlebrush, banksia, waratah, paddy melons, many types of eucalyptus, gum, and bottle trees. Then, 18 months later, we were back in New York teaching and saving for a house. After 1 year, we moved to Connecticut, our first home at Rogers Lake, finally with a garden, only 3 by 8 feet, but it was a garden. 4.5 years later, we bought land in East Lyme, then built the house and planned the garden simultaneously. While Jonathan concentrated more on veggies, I grew impatiens, marigold, hostias, begonias, tulips, sedum, mountain phlox, herbs, etc. Others contributed too. Grammy Grace Harger gave us gladiola, such as you see up here. And they proliferate. I'll tell you, I'm always amazed every spring how many gladiola I have. I invite you to come visit us. I don't bother to dig them up, but there they are every year. Ruth Diefenbach, who Nick I know and Claire know for sure, and maybe some others of you knew her. She was a music teacher in New London and visited us. She said, "You need peony bushes." So she went and got us peony bushes. And our French friend Maria gave us a hydrangea bush. I learned that deer also like these plants, so that deer netting and sprays were necessary. Finally, I conceded to just plant them in our fenced-off garden. The most confounding plant, and there's an example of it, was the hydrangea, which finally bloomed after 24 years. This year. So that was like a miracle. And then on TV, I heard that this is due to the fact that we had a very mild winter and a lot of spring rain. So you look all over the Cape, everywhere. There are hydrangeas in great splendor. Throughout, I learned patience, perseverance, and a deeper love of life that is made possible by a happy place in a beautiful garden. And finally, to summarize this, I also find this book, which they read in Traverse City, a UU church we attended, and I'll donate this to the school. My garden taught me that we can all live together, all different varieties. So, amen. I invite you now into a moment of silence. Please join me in saying these words to prepare for the offering. We give to the work of all souls. Our work weaves the fabric of love called community. To this end, we dedicate ourselves in this, our offering. And during this time, homegrown tomatoes will be played.
nobody in the book.
Oh, thanks, Irene. Thank you. For all that you have given and all that you have sacrificed, thank you. And thank you so much to Erica and Jonathan. Each week that we gather, one of the ways that we tend to community is to bear witness to one another's lives, to the joy and the sorrow, all of that. And these can be shared in 3 ways. First of all, if you're in the online pews, you can share in the YouTube chat. You can share what you would like shared here in Unity Hall. And those of you in Unity Hall, you can also write in the book in the lobby. And everyone can email belovedcommunity@allsouls.net. And now we invite those of you in Unity Hall, if you're so moved, if you would like to come and light a candle of intention, you're very welcome to do so. And if those at the front of the line would please move further up to light the candle so that the line flows. The circle is open. Your joy and your sorrow all are welcome here. the online pews this morning. Eleanor says, so grateful for a visit from my son and the wonder of sharing the Newport elephant migration from India. That's beautiful, Eleanor. And from Grace, it was a real joy to be at All Souls for Elder Journey on Thursday, and then to visit our beloved Tiffany Window at Lyman Allen. Grace, it was a joy to have you at Elder Journey on Thursday also. And from Carol, healing thoughts for her niece as she goes through treatment for cancer. Carol, we're continuing to hold your niece in our thoughts. Let us hold everything that has been shared as we enter into a communion of prayer and meditation, followed by silence. Source of life, wellspring of existence, we are holding close in our hearts the sorrows, burdens, and aches present and brought to mind this morning. In the fertile soil of our hearts, we nurture the seeds of kindness and compassion. May there be comfort and solace to all in need of it. We're also holding close and cultivating those blossoms of joy that appear. May their scent linger in our hearts and our lives. We are grateful for this cherished, beloved community. May the seeds planted here continue to take root and be a source of inspiration and strength, presence and purpose in the world. May we be, in some sense, gardeners of our souls. Amen. I invite you to stand in body and our spirit and join in our closing hymn, which is Rising Green. extinguishing the chalice. Our worship has ended, but our service is not yet done. May our spirits be renewed and our purpose resolved as we meet the challenges of the week. Our chalice flame is extinguished until once again united by the stamp of our communion. And those in Unity Hall, if you would reach your hands out to the wider world, and in the online pews, if you want to put your hand in your heart and your other hand reaching out to the community beyond the screen. Inch by inch, row by row, may compost nourish us and flowers flourish us. May we be gardeners of all that is good in this world. Rainful rain, sun and rain, find your way in nature's chain. Tune your body and your brain to the music from the land. Please be seated for the postlude.
Jumping and the cotton is high. Oh, your daddy's rich and your mama's good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. One of these mornings, you're gonna rise up singing, and you'll spread your wings and you'll touch the sky. But on that morning, there's nothing can harm you, 'cause Daddy and Mommy standing by. 'Cause Daddy and Mommy standing by.
So many thanks to Lisa and to Nick and to Bill for our music this morning. Announcements. If you are new today or new-ish and you would like to learn more about All Souls and Unitarian Universalism, head on over to the welcome table where Lynn will greet you. Thank you, Lynn. Today, following the service, 11:15 is the Death Cafe. If you want to come on down to the library, grab a cup of coffee and come join us. Everyone is welcome. July 30th, there will be a sharing circle, a group at noon in the Nash Room. Next Sunday, worship leader is Peggy Sheehan Flood. And in 2 weeks will be Pride on August 10th. We have all the slots had already been signed up for, which is so wonderful. Thank you. And we're still looking for home-baked cookies. So you can sign up here on this sheet, and also that will be available next Sunday also. So thank you. That is the announcements. Thank you for being here today, and we'll see you next week.